Welcome to Be Your Greatest Asset, the podcast for mums in business, heart-led mums in business who want to share their wisdom with the world, share their gifts and talents, and inspire other women to prioritize their well-being. I'm really pleased to have with us today Kendall-De Silva. She's a relationship mentor all the way from Trinidad. Her business is The Language of Relationships. Welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself in more detail?
Thank you, Michelle. Well, I am a relationship mentor, and people always ask, well, what does that even mean? Because, you heard, well, coaching is one thing, and it's very similar, except that you're in your relationship, right? You know what you've done, you know who you are, you know who your partner is. And sometimes you just need somebody with a little bit of outside perspective to provide that additional insight or to bounce some ideas off of as you continue in your relationship and grow in that relationship. And that's what I do. I help you grow and connect more, maybe even rediscover each other in a way. And I work only with women. I think that's the other thing that sometimes I forget to mention, that I don't actually work with couples. I work with women who are ready to make those changes, to kind of, sometimes, ladies, we know we might be a little bit more intuitive about certain things, and we can take those first steps to rebuilding our connections, to fostering, bringing back that fun, bringing back that spark the way we want it to be. That's what I do.
I love it. I love it. And I love that, you say that you work with women who want to make the change. Now, it's sometimes we know that we want to make changes, but sometimes it's so difficult to actually know where to even start. So having somebody in your corner to use as a sounding board, offer a different perspective, it's just incredible. What kind of challenges do you find that most of your clients face, most women face, in trying to juggle the family and business? I just realized I forgot to actually introduce the topic of this talk,
Right.
which is all about giving, giving yourself the space and grace to get everything done. So basically to thrive in your business, in your family life, and in your words, have a passionate relationship, which, to be honest, I think
Yeah.
most of us would love to rekindle that side of things. I know I would. My husband's 550 miles away from me at the moment.
I know.
Yeah, just finishing off some work down in England, while we're up in Scotland now, and it's our wedding anniversary today, so it's a bit sucky, really, that we're apart. But hey ho.
And here you are talking about relationships on top of all of that.
I know. Well, obviously, I need the help. If I've managed to let him escape on our wedding anniversary for the first time in 13 years.
Wow. Happy
But yeah.
anniversary. Yeah. But I know we had kind of talked about it a little bit before as well. But in many ways it's like, and I'm not going to say that we don't celebrate our big occasions, right? But you and your husband are working towards a big family goal right now. Like this isn't, oh, we've forgotten or it's not important. This is, we love and cherish each other, and we have a plan, and we are working on that together. And if it's
Definitely,
a little uncomfortable, for the next several months, I mean, oh gosh, I can't imagine though. I really can't imagine the 500-mile difference. That is crazy. But you two committed to that together. You're not
yeah.
fighting each other for that. This is part of your life plan together.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's the thing. We've been grateful today for what we've achieved. Like we've
Yeah.
achieved our dream. This is just the beginning, though, really, of just scratching the
Yeah,
surface now. But there's so much more fun to come together. But yeah.
exactly.
So back to my original question then. What are the biggest challenges that you find your ladies who you work with face, trying to sort
Right.
of juggle the balance, the business and life, really?
Right. That's it. It's overwhelming. So one of the first challenges is that, how do I even begin to unpack what I'm trying to balance, or what I'm trying to harmonize. Because it just feels like a lot. And so in the middle of trying to deal with, okay, I know I have children, I know I have a husband or a partner, I know I have sometimes a job, I know I have a business, but yet they overlap in so many different ways. And it's that almost inability to compartmentalize that creates the sense of overwhelm. And that's one of the first areas. Even just identifying, giving a name to each of the parts and understanding where one can end before the other begins. Yeah. So that's one of the first things I would say that I notice. The next challenge that I find cropping up a lot is, well, the self-doubt, right? I mean, but then that's in everything, but it really happens here, because I'm sure for many of your listeners as well, who are in any stages of building a business, you know that starting a business, growing one, it's like the biggest form of personal development growth you could possibly go on. I mean, the same is said for, starting and maintaining a romantic relationship, starting and maintaining a family. These are all major personal growth areas. And now you're taking all of them and dealing with all at the same time.
And usually they're all in the same location as well, aren't they? Which doesn't help the overlap, because you can't kind of go, you're usually working from home like we both do. Obviously the family, the chores, the childcare is all at home. The partner's usually at home. My partner will be at home.
Mine is right now. I was telling Michelle earlier, I'm not even in my office because he's been homesick. So here I am at the dining table.
Being flexible.
Exactly.
And thriving for it.
And thriving. Exactly. A lot of this, what it leads to then is feelings of inadequacy in one or all areas. And that's really what I find it pushes many of these ladies to start seeking assistance, because it's that sense of, I can't be failing in all aspects of my life. And that really is what happens. You're not failing in any of them, but because you feel so overwhelmed, you feel like you're failing, not just in one area, but in all areas. Because sometimes the inner voice that gets played on repeat, it's that you haven't cooked dinners yet, you're late with the laundry, you don't have as many clients as you're supposed to have, you haven't posted on social media for 2 weeks. And date night, what is that?
Yeah, that's always the thing that historically has gone by the wayside, but that is something that we brought back before we started moving, and then everything went to pot again and complete chaos again. But yeah, I completely resonate with that feeling of inadequacy, actually, because to be honest, that's one of the reasons that I became a coach specifically for mums in business, because I wanted a business. I always wanted a flexible business around my family. Even before I had children, that was kind of my dream that I was working towards, because I knew I wanted to have children. And then the children came, and suddenly I was like, but oh my gosh, I'm not doing anything properly. I feel guilty because I'm neglecting this or that, or whatever. And just literally trying to find that happy balance, that harmony between the family and the realizing that actually, you can have it all, but you have to make some major mindset shifts. Ditch that imperfection, ditch the expectation on yourself, and
exactly. And then to be realistic about what the expectations are. You don't need to have you don't need to judge your success or what success looks like based on what others have achieved. Others are not you. And I'm not saying this from the point of view, and I'm always very clear about this. I do not subscribe to the don't try and try hard. I'm like, no, you're gonna try. You're gonna put all the effort in that you can.
Yeah,
But the bottom line is you cannot judge yourself based on somebody else.
that's it.
You have to figure out your trajectory. And that is so important as well.
Yeah, putting the effort in to reach the results that you desire, isn't it? Rather than
Exactly.
what somebody else is doing and like what you think you should be doing instead.
Right. That may work for them. And is it working for them, by the way? You don't actually know.
Who knows? You know, that
Don't
social
know.
media, there's that whole fake
That's
fake
it.
kind of
That's it.
perception, isn't it, that you can get from people's lives. So I love to share.
Exactly.
I love to share all of it, the highs and the lows. I'm not somebody
Yeah.
to shout, yeah, like make it look all rosy all the time. Because let's face it, life is never rosy, 100% of the time.
It's not. It's not. It's not. It's and I don't think it's supposed to be. And I remember too, reading a while ago too, this idea that highs and lows of life. There was this gentleman, he was saying, he had always pictured when people talked about the highs and lows of life, that sometimes you'd be really, really happy, other times you'd be really, really down. Sometimes something in your life would be going super well, other times everything is going badly. And then he realized that's not how life works. You get the highs and the lows lumped all together.
That's
At
it.
any one point in your life, today,
Mm.
what is going really well for you?
Yeah.
But then it's also something that's not.
That's it, isn't it? The light and dark, yin and yang. It's
Yeah.
I think it's powerful, but it's really empowering when we can accept that, there are lessons to be learned in everything. Like even those failures, those so-called failures, like I'm so passionate that failure doesn't exist, because
Yes,
it's always a lesson. There's always a lesson in it.
there's a lesson. And the only true way to fail is to stop, right?
Mm,
That's the
yeah,
only way you actually really fail.
yeah.
Because Michelle said, otherwise it's just a lesson.
All
Hopefully one we don't have to repeat. But
Yeah, and find the gratitude in that. Yeah, that's
you know.
amazing. So these ladies then who have all these challenges, what would your, I don't know, maybe top tip or tips be for them?
And I come back to that idea of identification, because we cannot begin to cope or to address issues if we don't know what they are. So when I talk about identification, one of the things I like to do is for well, not just my clients or anyone I'm talking to, what are your top values, your top the things that take up the most space in your day? And if you're struggling to figure out what that is, look at your browsers. If you have a million tabs open, what do they refer to? Look at your history, look at your bank statements, your credit card statements. So the things that are getting your time and your money, those are your top values. Now, maybe you don't want those things to be your top values. Maybe those are just what your top priorities are right now because of the stage of life that you're in. So what it's worth doing as well is looking at what is currently happening, but what you want your life to look like. What do you want your top priorities to be? So, for example, I know when I first started going through this process, I remember looking through, yes, my credit card receipts, and I looked through, well, nowadays it's actually online stuff. It's no longer sifting through the piles of paper. But and yes, looking at my browser history. And I know I didn't even have to think about it. I knew it was my business and building my business that had just consumed every almost conscious moment of thought. And I'm like, okay, I've poured all of this into my business, but yet I'm not seeing the results that I want. And I felt so low at that point too, because I was just looking at all of this almost, to me, at that point, it felt like wasted effort. I don't think it's wasted effort now. I understand the process.
Okay.
Um, but I also knew that there were other things I wanted to be at the center of my life. And why my business was important, I wanted my business to fit into my life. I wanted to have time for prayer and mindful journaling. I wanted to have time with my husband. I wanted to have quality time with my children.
Yeah.
You know, I also teach. I'm a teacher as well. I teach at a community college. And you just stop like kind of cramming all that work into a tiny space and enjoy building my business. So when I made a list of all of my values, I'm like, okay, how am I supposed to arrange my life? Oh, and somewhere in there, I need to exercise.
Yeah.
So, and that's what it be. So it was that process of identifying what actually was important, what needed to be important in my daily life for my long-term gain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Right.
that I think helps so much. And it's not actually as straightforward as it sounds. And I'm not saying you ever get it totally right. And there's no harm in redoing your schedule 100 times if you have to. But what that does, though, and when you have it written down somewhere, it gives you something to go back to and focus on.
Yeah.
Then you start plugging it into your daily. Okay. And then you get to be strict with yourself. So when I wake up first thing in the morning, am I allowed to start thinking about all the appointments I have scheduled for today? No. I have to spend a moment in gratitude first. I have to be grateful I have woken up. I am alive. I am healthy. I'm in a warm bed.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we're so aligned in what we just slightly different people we help, different stages really, but it all makes so much sense. And that's what I do. That's like that how do you want to feel question in the morning?
Right.
Like
I
that
know you
day.
do that
That's
one. I love that one.
yeah.
Yes.
It's I love the bank statement idea. That's really, really good. I haven't thought of that one before. Because where are you
Yeah.
spending money on? And obviously, like we're going to be spending a lot of money on things that we feel that we should be spending money on, or we
That's it.
need to for survival, if you like, the food and bills and all of that. But then when you look, like, I mean, we've had phases where my husband and I have said, oh, we're so skint, we've got no money. And then when you look at it, when you actually break it down, I suppose actually we have done it, but just in a slightly without scrutinizing
Mhm.
the bank statements. But it's like, oh well, actually, we went for breakfast that day, and we went out for breakfast with friends, and that was fun. And we've actually paid for the babysitter. We've had a date night. We've been out for some cocktails. We whatever. And it's like, well, actually, it's not so bad after all. These are things that we're enjoying doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. And I mean, I know that whole money conversation is a whole other one too.
I know it's huge, isn't it? I mean, I know coaches who specialize solely in money, mastering money manifestation, all of that stuff.
Exactly. Making your money work for you.
Yeah, quite, quite, absolutely.
But it is important. And I mean, and I like I also like the perspective you brought there as well, in that when you look at the bank statements, you can now see too the good things. You
Mm,
can see the parts where, okay, maybe I am at, $10 and I still have 3 days in the month left.
yeah,
But as you said, the big bills have been paid. I don't owe anybody anything at this point.
yeah,
And we have had fun. We have lived. We have had,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
I always say, yes, you don't need to have money to have quality time together. But if you spent money on experiences with your family, is that really money badly spent?
That's an investment in memory, as I say.
Exactly.
And it's that's yeah, life
Yep.
life experiences, definitely.
Yeah, we just had a family vacation to Orlando in at the
Nice.
end of it. So my husband is still in that stage of, I know we're building memories, but Jesus.
It's all right. It
Like,
was all worth it, and we'll just pay the credit card off eventually.
We don't need to build any more memories in a hurry, right?
Oh, that must have been amazing though.
It really was. But definitely not something that can be done on a regular basis.
No, but then like you say, you don't need to, even just spending time together, having a pizza night. I mean, you need to eat anyway, so just putting some pizzas in the oven and watching a film on
Exactly.
Netflix, that's family time or couple
It is.
time. And like my
Yeah.
husband and I were used to going on date nights and trying to get that balance in, because we realized that we weren't spending enough time together. We realized that we were working a lot at weekends doing DIY and stuff on our house renovations and all sorts. And so it got to the point where we were just putting time in the diary, keep free. So we would just say no to people. So if we were invited for dinner, even at my parents, for example, we would say no. Like, we need the time as a family. For the boys
Yeah,
need downtime as well.
they do.
It's okay.
Mhm.
Like, it took some getting used to. Like, it's really hard to start saying no to people, but they grew to understand it. So our Sunday afternoons became very sacred family times. Like, we'd go and walk our elderly neighbors' dogs on Sunday afternoon. It's in our old house. I need to find a dog to walk now. Up in Scotland. And we'd have a little chat with him because he's elderly, and we were, gave him a bit of a lifeline and had a good chat with him earlier on the phone. Actually, it was really nice. And then we'd go and we'd have the fire on if it was winter or whatever, and we'd watch a film. Maybe I'll do some journaling. The boys might maybe play on PlayStation, but we'd all be together in the room.
Yeah.
Maybe we'd watch something all together, and it was just that
Yeah.
protecting our time together, and starting to compartmentalize, which is what you've suggested.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I love how you explain that too, because there's also this pressure. And I mean, I'll talk a little bit about, what intentional time or quality time looks like.
Yeah.
But that downtime where there may be nothing, and yes, you can all be in the same living room, you can all be spread apart doing different things, but it's just you are all together. There is that space for conversations to happen. There is that space for planned activities to come up. It's just no expectations.
That's it. Yeah.
Peace.
Except that we're all together.
Exactly. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody who has small kids, and when they're all together, the peace may not always last.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It's just that's one of the things that you have to kind of, navigate, isn't it?
Like, can we go out now? We've been inside for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nope, back out. Oh dear. Oh, I've got some fun farm stories to share with my boys being outdoors, like literally having to tip welly boots out and stuff because they're so full of water. I had to pull them out of a muddy puddle the other day, like literally got stuck in it. It's like, oh no.
Oh my gosh. Your life
Anyway,
has just totally changed completely. I
yeah, I
mean,
literally like got popped in the bath to have a shower. But yeah, fun memories, family time. So just adjusting.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So let's talk more about date nights.
Right.
What's your opinion on date nights and the importance of them, suggestions for them when we're all busy and skint
Exactly.
potentially, or you feel like you're skint?
Well, and exactly that. I kind of want to take some serious pressure off of date night, but also put some vigor behind it. So let me explain what I mean by that. It's not a checklist item. So that's the first thing. I know a lot of couples feel like, oh, we have to do date night. Or they say things like, oh, we do date night once a week. And I'm like, stop it. It does not need to be a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll be very honest with you. My husband and I rarely use the term date night. In fact, I don't think we ever actually use it. Other people might say to us, oh, you're having a date night. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. We've just escaped the kids and we got out. So, but we don't create that pressure. Like, I have to have date night. All the experts say you have to have date night. No, it's not that you have to have date night. It's that you have to have quality time together, intentional time together,
Yeah.
separate from the children.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, your parents, this is your family, but your relationship is separate from them. Because one day, and this is supposed to happen, you are doing that, you're doing all the things right now to raise responsible, productive adults.
Yeah.
They have to leave you and start their own lives out independently of you. And then what?
That's it.
So exactly. And you also don't want them to feel as if they have to prop your life up,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
children are intuitive. And if they realize that they are the glue holding you together, you are giving them an added responsibility they don't need.
Good point. Yeah. Yeah. And you hear that so often, like sadly, like people having their children leave home and then them thinking, well, what is there now for us? And you
Exactly.
hear of quite a lot of people separating once their
The
children
empty
leave home,
nesters.
which is something that Gary and I have thought about. And like, no, that's not going to happen to us. We need to, we want to keep us
Hey,
alive. And, and we've always said that without us, there is no family, which I know is not strictly true these days because, family,
no, yeah,
choose your family and, split families and all this and to be politically correct and everything. But
yeah,
for me, for us, and I know for
mhm,
you, it's like we're
mhm.
married couples with our
Yeah,
kids, and for us, our kind of perception and experience of life is that the family is me and Gary and the boys, and that's how we would like it to
exactly.
stay.
That's how we would like it to stay. And,
Yeah.
later on, it will be us and them and whoever comes into their lives. And so, I mean, we're not even going to touch on to that whole aspect about, oh, you have to put your marriage before your kids. I'm
Mm.
not even going to open that can of worms. I have very strong views on that one too, but let's just say, yes, you have to make time for your married life, your couple life, your romantic life, you and your partner, time separate from the children. And that is where the idea of date night comes from.
Yeah.
And then, so what do you do with it? Well, here's the thing, right? If you're content with the dinner and a movie every week, then fine, but don't let it become monotonous. And so this is the other issue I have, where people are like, well, we do date night every week, but then you just treat it like another activity, another chore to get done. And then you think you've accomplished date night.
Mm.
Okay, how about you put some serious planning into it? And so, especially nowadays, for those ladies who are running their businesses and running their families and running in the home, all the things, like, where do you find the time? Well, you literally sit with your calendar today
Yeah.
and you block that time out.
Yeah.
And it could be, yeah, it could be 6 weeks out. And we're getting close to the holiday season. So you know what's going to happen from the time we hit the end of November. It's just like,
So
so,
true. Yeah, I
so
second that. Block it out.
book it now, and treat it as sacred, and then plan it. Take the time. And Michelle and I will talk in a second about the 5 minute date ideas. But right now we're talking about your big date night time together. Plan it together. Have fun thinking about what you can do. And I'm not talking about expensive stuff. If you want to go out on a night on the town and you can, great, do it. It could be as simple as arranging for some the kids to sleep over somewhere else, so you have your home all to yourselves to do whatever you want to do. This is what takes the planning, especially if you're at a stage of life where it's difficult to separate from your children. Some people may not live close to, relatives, or have trusted babysitters, or their kids may be just too small. But even 3-month-old babies need to sleep at some point. So
Right. Yeah. Where there's a will, there is
there's a
always a way. Always a
and
way. I'll tell you a
always.
story. Gary and I, when Xavier, so he's 7 now, but when he was a baby, before he was born, we booked tickets to go to a classical concert. Ian Audi, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a
Mhm.
Italian pianist and composer. It was the second time we'd seen him, and he's just amazing. And Xavier was being breastfed, and he just would not take a bottle. So he was 5 months old when it was concert time, and I phoned up the local venue and I said, "Are we allowed to bring babies? Like, what, because it was in the evening, and I knew that he would just feed and sleep. And honestly, the looks that I got carrying a baby into your auditorium were just incredible. And but Gary and I still made it to that concert, even though we had a 5-month-old baby with us, which wasn't ideal, but we still enjoyed that precious time together. And the funny thing is, like, Xavier behaved exactly as I knew he would, because it was that time of day. He cluster fed, and as we were walking out, the number of people who commented say, "Oh my gosh, what a good baby," and like, that's incredible. Like, he was just, and I think, yeah, so it is possible. It is so possible still, even if it's difficult to, because he breastfed, you can still get out somehow.
You can have a lovely dinner at home with the
Yeah,
baby in the bassinet right next to you during the nap
and that
time.
too. Yeah.
Because the baby is not part of your conversation at that point. Baby is sound asleep. So it can be just the two of you interacting with each other. That's what we want. Focus on each other.
Yeah.
And as you said, Xavier was sound asleep.
That's
So
it. Attached to me, but he was still asleep. And it was dark.
and yes, that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah.
Those moments where even if your kids are around, they are not distracting you from each other. And that's why I say, family dates are great family time, but if you're out for dinner with the whole family, I mean, come on, anyone with small children knows that's not.
It's not particularly enjoyable. Dear. But yeah, that's good. That's good.
So right. So that is what I mean about date night being a little less pressure, but also a little bit more. And it's about creating, and to me, what date night is meant to be is a unique experience, something that you will remember, something that you will cherish. You're adding it to your memory bank. It's something that when a thought of it crosses your mind, it brings back positive memories of you and your partner.
Yeah.
And try to keep it fun. Try to keep it different, repeat some of the great things that you really enjoy, but don't try to repeat it exactly, because it's never going to be exactly the same. But all I say, if you can do like a big date night, let's say at least several times a year. And when I say a big, I pointed out, a big date night can still be at home.
Yeah.
It's just those few hours where it's just the two of you. So if a few times through the year, you can get something like that in, that's super important. And for when you can't, well, that's where the 5-minute dates come in.
That's it. So tell us about the 5-minute dates then, and how people can get their hands on it.
So, well, it literally is say 5 to 10 minutes, right? But when you're titling things, you have to be mingy with words. So it's called the 5-minute date ideas. The idea of that is that you can have quality 5 to 10-minute connection time with your partner every day, especially when you can't be spending hours on end totally connected to each other. Okay. And it's just, I don't know, I hate to use the word just, because I always think it belittles the thoughts that go with it. It's creating space for each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be, you decide tonight you are going to watch a particular program and you sit together and you hold hands while doing it. It can be sneaking downstairs to have the last piece of cake from the fridge together. It can be, a late night cereal. My husband and I have literally snuck downstairs to have a bowl of cereal. Really? Fruit Loops and milk, not the healthiest thing, but
it was not unhealthy, is it really? It's worse.
Exactly. A quick walk around your block, depending on where you live. You have a lovely farm to go walk around. Maybe not in the middle of winter, but yeah.
I don't know. We're talking about getting head torches. We can just easily leave the boys in bed and just go for a midnight stroll, just the two of us.
Yes. So where we live like in a townhouse complex, and to get to where the garbage area. It's like almost like walking down the street. So there are times where we will literally slip out of the house without the boys knowing to put the garbage out, because we get about 5-6 minutes uninterrupted time to take the garbage out. And I can't tell you that we ever plan a conversation for that time, but just that, like, it's like an excitement, like we got away. It literally is. We've escaped from them. There's no
conversation. Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. So so I will put the link for the 5-minute date nights in the show notes. So go and grab a copy and put some spark back into your relationship. Put some passion in, even if it is just a kiss at the bins or something.
Probably would if it didn't have security cameras there.
Brilliant. My cheeks are aching. I'm laughing so much. I'm smiling so much. Yeah, so grab a copy. I've got a copy and it is very useful. So yeah, thanks for sharing that with us. And it's been such a pleasure. We've been talking for a while, actually. It's been such a pleasure to have you on the show. And I was wondering what last words of wisdom you have for our listeners today.
Okay, so the last piece of thing to tell you is you cannot feel your way into acting. So if there's a change that you want to see happen in your life, we have to start acting towards it. With your actions will inform your thoughts, your actions will inform your words, that informs your feelings. So if you're working towards something, start taking the steps. If you wait until you feel to do it, that feeling might never come.
Yeah.
So take your actions. Even if you don't feel like it, that's okay. We'll get to that part afterwards.
Yeah. If it's your priority, if it's a value, take that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It will feel good after.
Yeah.
And you
scary stepping into things you don't know or don't understand. But yeah, amazing. Great last words of wisdom. Brilliant words of wisdom all the way through. So thank you so much for joining us today, for joining me today. And I am certain that our listeners will feel very inspired to thrive in business, family, and in their relationships. So it's amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Take care, lovely. Bye.
Bye.